The Monday, September 12th meeting of the Blue Springs Planning Commission is hereby called to order. If I could ask everyone to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and good evening to everyone here and everybody watching us at home. I will run through the agenda real quick for this evening. I'll have the consent agenda. I have a public hearing for a rezoning, a public hearing for an amended planned residential overlay, another public hearing for a rezoning. But I lost part of my agenda. Oh, no, here it is. Technical difficulty. Another public hearing for a conditional use permit, a preliminary plat, a site plan design and review for Neater's Bakery and Cafe, a planned unit development final plat for Quick Trip, a planned residential overlay final plat for Adams Point Villages, and a final plat for Adams Point Villages, other business, and adjournment. So that brings me to item 1 on the agenda, which is the consent agenda. I will be pulling 1B, which is the final plat for Northridge Cottages. So I would entertain a motion to approve consent agenda with item 1A only.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with item 1A. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 1B is the final plat for Northridge Cottages, and a condition has been added to that. So if Mr. Wright would read that condition for us and get that on the record, would be wonderful.
Yep, just wanted to make the Planning Commission aware there were 5 conditions in the staff report that you received. A 6th condition has been recommended from engineering to read, required stormwater detention and stormwater quality improvements shall be completed or a financial guarantee submitted prior to approval of the final plat by the City Council, and the development and maintenance agreement shall be executed and all improvements completed prior to the issuance of the first building permit.
All right. Any questions from the commissioners? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the final plat of Northridge Cottages with the added condition.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the item 1B, the Northridge Cottages, with the additional 6th condition.
I have a motion from Commissioner Banks. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Haney to approve final plat Northridge Cottages with the added staff condition. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Before I open the public hearings, I'll run through the procedure for a public hearing real quick. I will open the public hearing, call for exhibits from the city attorney. Staff will make comments. The applicant will be given an opportunity to make their presentation. I will ask for witnesses to speak in favor. Then I will ask for witnesses to speak in opposition. I will have questions and general discussion among the commissioners. And then I will close the public hearing, and it will be discussed and voted on for a recommendation among the commissioners. So with that, I will reopen. I'm going to reopen 2 public hearings. The rezoning RZ-08-16-5436 to rezone East Eagles Ridge Estates PRO and Eagles Ridge Villas PRO, and public hearing PROC-08-16-5437, which is an amended planned residential overlay district concept plan. So I will reopen the public hearings. And yes, Commissioner Banks.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that, as requested by the applicant, to continue items 2, 3, and also number 6 to September 26th.
All right, I have a motion from Commissioner Banks. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Peel was the second. Is that agreeable to the applicant for the continuation, Mr. Ward?
That's fine.
All right. I have a motion and a second to continue items 2, 3, and 6, which is the 2 public hearings, and the preliminary plat for Eagles Ridge. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Items 2, 3, and 6 will be continued to our September 26th meeting. Item 4 is a public hearing for a rezoning of contractor storage. I will open Public hearing for RZ-08-16-544 for contractor storage. Ask for the exhibits from our city attorney.
Thank you. The city has 8 exhibits. Exhibit 1 is the staff report with attachments. Exhibit 2 is the affidavit of publication in the Examiner on August 27, 2016. Exhibit 3 is the application with attachments. Exhibit 4 is the 185-foot notification map. Exhibit 5 is the names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. Exhibit 6 is the copy of the letter sent to the property owners. Exhibit 7 is Title 4, Land Use Section, Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And Exhibit 8 is the 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference. Those are the city's exhibits.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wright, would you like to make a presentation?
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commission. Before you is a request to rezone property from T3 suburban to T5 urban center for approximately 1.6 acres, located at properties addresses 806, 808, and 902 Southwest South Avenue. This is generally located on the south side of South Avenue between 7 Highway and 10th Street. The subject property is part of the downtown zoning district and currently includes 3 parcels. The 2 easternmost parcels have an existing residential warehouse storage use, and the westernmost parcel was previously a single-family home, but is now vacant, has been demolished. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property to begin the process of expanding the warehouse residential storage use, which is permitted in the T5 zoning district with a conditional use permit. The comprehensive plan does designate the entire downtown zoning district as a distinct destination, which provides a mix of uses, including light industrial uses. The Downtown Development Code allows light industrial uses to be conditionally permitted in certain locations where appropriate. Prior to the creation of the downtown zoning district in 2007, the subject property was zoned LI, which is comparable to the properties that are zoned to the south of the railroad track, which would have allowed the expansion of the warehouse residential storage use. The Downtown Review Board recommended approval of the rezoning at their August 31st meeting, and staff also recommends approval of the requested rezoning from T3 to T5. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Wright? Commissioner Billups.
Just one short, simple question. The 2 lots are currently non-conforming.
Correct.
Will this bring them into conformance?
It would. Originally, those lots were legal conforming lots until the
zoning change, right?
So this would bring them back into compliance.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Would the applicant like to come forward and make their presentation? I will need you to state your name, address, and be sworn in, please.
Hi, my name is Chris Birkenmeyer, 1323 Northwest Fairway Circle, Blue Springs, Missouri, 64014.
Very good. You sound swear the testimony about in this case will be the truth, something that.
I do. Kind of real quick, what we're wanting to do is two phases for this project. The lot to the west that used to have a residence on it, they've already removed it, and it's a clean lot now. We're proposing to put a storage facility on that lot. Approximately 60 by 140 is the size of that building. Plans haven't been drawn up, and we don't know the exact sizes. That would be the first phase of the project. The second phase would be in addition to some of the existing buildings in order to provide more units for storage. If you have any questions, I can
Any
answer.
questions for Mr. Birkmeyer? All right. Doesn't look like it. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak in favor? Anybody
Is it
would?
possible I could?
Sure, come forward. Just state your name, address, and be sworn in, please.
Clay Swope, raise your hand, you do that. Cross your heart.
Raise your right hand, let him swear you in.
Someone swear the testimony about in this case will be the truth.
Best my memory will let me. Yeah, I do.
Name and address.
1112 Main, Blue Springs.
Okay.
No, I have a question for you guys. Has everybody drove by the site down there by chance, or are you just reading it off the paper here? Can you say, raise your hand if you drove by? Okay, I appreciate it, because if you see it, I think this all makes sense. And those, whoops, there. The two east properties I've had for over 30 years, possibly 35 years, and we've used them for the same thing. And at that time, everything south of South Avenue was light industrial through there. And I think we'll find out if the neighbors step forward, but I think we've been good neighbors down there, and it is a unique little area there. And I think we helped the city considerably when we tore that old house down, if you drove by before the old house got tore down. It sat vacant for many years, and the guy that tore it down told of different heights of coon manure. You didn't think I'd think of a word, did you, Lynn? and the groundhogs, it was bad, real bad. And so I think we helped a little bit there. And I think it's what we're asking for is in line with the neighborhood and everything, but I'm prejudiced too. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Swope?
Yeah.
All right, no, thank you.
Well, I can answer that.
Anybody else in there that would like to speak in favor of the request? Anybody that would like to speak in opposition? All right. I will bring it back up here for questions, comments, discussion on the record.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Peel.
I would like to ask staff if any of the notice letters have been returned.
Actually, yes, sir. Sherry Lee and Nick Garden, 803 South Avenue and 3629 Bass Loop. And these were undeliverable.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Comments? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And I would entertain a motion, if anybody would be so inclined to make one. Commissioner Phillips.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a
Okay,
motion.
Commissioner Haney.
Thank you. Ready for a motion?
I am.
Make a motion to approve RZ 08165444. Second.
I have a motion, I have a second from Commissioner Banks. This will be a roll call vote.
Commissioner Cradoff?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Commissioner Sanders?
Aye.
Commissioner Haney?
Aye.
Commissioner Peel?
Aye.
Commissioner Duhan?
Aye.
Commissioner Billups?
Aye.
Commissioner Banks?
Aye.
Chairman Graham?
Aye. Motion is approved. That recommendation will be sent to City Council on their September 19th meeting. Next item is a public hearing for a conditional use permit. So I will open the public hearing for CUP-08-16-5446 for Nieder's Bakery and Cafe, and ask for exhibits from our city attorney.
Thank you. The city has 8 exhibits. Exhibit 1 is a staff report with attachments. Exhibit 2 is the affidavit of publication in the Examiner on August 27, 2016. Exhibit 3 is the application with attachments. Exhibit 4 is the 185-foot notification map. Exhibit 5 is names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. Exhibit 6 is a copy of a letter sent to the property owners. Exhibit 7 is Title IV Land Use Section, Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And Exhibit 8 is the 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference. Those are the city's exhibits.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Jury is going to make the presentation for us.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner and Planning Commissioners. Before you, you have a conditional use permit for Nieder's Bakery and Cafe. The conditional use permit is really only for the drive-through portion of the restaurant. Drive-throughs are only allowed in the Adams Dairy Parkway Overlay District with a conditional use permit. So this is the reasoning for this request. The the proposed location for Nieder's Bakery and Cafe is on the Home Depot lot, which is located on the southwest corner of Northeast Coronado and Northeast Adams Dairy Parkway, as shown on the map here. Currently, it is just a parking lot. Home Depot does have some excess parking that they are willing to sell off, and replat will be necessary for this process, but the Nieder's Bakery is proposing to turn that parking lot into a restaurant. So for the conditional use permit, there's only 3 staff conditions, and it's pretty straightforward with that. But I will describe the site a little bit further.
And so I forgot to mention, we're going to have you do item 7 as well, the site plan design review at the same time.
Yes. And I'll describe the site as well, included in this. So here we have a 0.81 acre site that the applicant is proposing to carve out of the existing lot and actually plat at a later date, which can be administratively approved since it has gone through the platting process already and no additional public improvements are required. So that will be one of the conditional or conditions on this approval, but they are in the process of getting that plat approved administratively. With that, on this site there is a 3,844 square feet restaurant building, and approximately 38 parking spaces included on the site as well. This site will be mainly accessed through the Home Depot parking lot, which they will need cross-access easements alongside the platting process to provide those easements, which Home Depot is willing to grant since they're also willing to sell the property. And also, the pedestrian crossings should be, there's one location on here that isn't provided, and pedestrian crossings should be striped as required by code. Parking is one issue that the applicant is hopefully going to work out with Home Depot, and staff has full belief that they will be able to work this out. But through the reduction of Home Depot's parking lot, they are taking away some spaces that are required for Home Depot. However, if we go to the staff report, I'll bring up the required parking spaces. Nieder's is only required 30 spaces. They're providing 38. Home Depot has room to provide 412 spaces, and if they enter a shared parking agreement, they're only providing 407 spaces. They're required to have 412. But if they include the 8 spaces that Nieder's has over the 30 spaces that they have required, then they will be over the 412 required spaces for Home Depot. So this is one of the conditions that staff is proposing, that the applicant must meet the parking requirements for both the Home Depot lot and the Nieder's lot combined. Additionally, the frontage is existing. There's some existing landscaping along Coronado, and the applicant is proposing to keep that existing landscaping, maintain it, and actually add onto that for their general landscaping requirements. They are providing more plants than are required for our landscaping code. So that is to their benefit, and partially that is due to the drive-through being located along Coronado. The Appearance Review Committee, who did review this as they do anything through the Adams Dairy Parkway overlay, did have a comment about one landscaping island requiring a tree, or needing an extra tree to provide some shade for some possible seating outside, as well as some current concerns about the drive-through being along Coronado, but with the amount of landscaping, they were fine with having the drive-through along Coronado Avenue. Other than that, all the main conditions come into effect with stormwater and signage. Only minor thing would be the private water line that is currently running underneath the proposed building site should be moved. That's a private water line for Home Depot, and I'm sure Home Depot and the applicant developer will work that out and move that water line as necessary. With that, staff does recommend approval of the site plan design review as well as the conditional use permit. The site plan design review having 7 conditions and the conditional use having 3. With any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Jury?
I have a couple.
Okay.
Can you hear me? So I'm curious, the Adams overlay, it seems like there's a lot of places that have drive-throughs. What was the idea behind the overlay not to allow for drive-throughs?
I might turn that over to Scott or Jim, actually, who was here before.
That's a very good question, Commissioner Sanders. The standards were first considered back in 1990 and then codified in 1996. Have been carried forward since. So it's hard for me to speak directly to, I guess, the quote legislative intent behind that, other than it is similar to a restriction that was placed on Adams Dairy Landing, where Target is, simply to encourage more of the sit-down restaurants and such, rather than essentially fast food with drive-throughs. But again, 20 years later, even higher-end, upscale, fast casual and such have drive-throughs. So, but at the time, it was pretty much strictly fast food that had drive-throughs. So that's kind of a general synopsis as to why.
And, having, frequent that area a lot, it gets loaded up pretty good as you go out towards Adams. Has there been a traffic study done? I know there's a lot of development, and I know it's not this particular project that's going to do one thing or another, but it just seems pretty congested. I could see this backing up, and now this is a drive-through where people are exiting to the right, and it could actually back up into Home Depot's parking lot and then turn right on Adams. You can't really turn right on Adams unless the people in front of you are going to go right, because a lot of them go straight across to Target or wherever. Has there been a study?
I may defer to Jeff Sell from Public Works to see if he can respond to that.
Yeah, when Red Development did the actual widening of Coronado and stuff, there were traffic studies done. That's primarily why there's 2 traffic signals, and has the median islands out there to help direct the traffic and help congestion and crossing. But it should be able to accommodate that and stuff. But yeah, it's a traveled corridor, got a lot of development along it and things. But that's why it's got the mini lanes and also the island.
Did that answer your questions, Commissioner Sanders?
Kind of.
Specifically for this project, we didn't require a traffic study, mainly because the traffic generated by Walmart and Home Depot combined, this is such a minimal amount of that traffic that they wouldn't have been required to have any additional improvements. We have both stoplights anyway, so there was minimal improvements that I don't even think they would have been required to have any, if that. So.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Commissioner Billups.
I just want to make sure we're yeah, again, keeping everything straight on the record here, the only access to this is through the Home Depot parking lot, right? There's not any access off of that shared drive that goes into Walmart?
Home Depot actually owns part of that shared drive at least, so they will have cross-access through the entire...
But there's not going to be like a curb cut into that?
No. They will have to work around the existing layout of Home Depot.
And was there any discussion about rotating this so that the drive-through didn't face the Parkway? Or, I mean, Coronado?
Home Depot, I might have to defer that to the applicant actually, but I'm guessing Home Depot wanted to have it on the farthest part of their parking lot as possible. That's my guess.
And on the shared parking spaces, it says that the staff report says that has to be a written filing with the county. Do they have to designate which parking spaces are technically shared? I mean, obviously everybody's going to park wherever they want to park and go where they want, but
correct.
They have to sit there and say A, B, C, and D. These are the ones that are on this lot that are counted on this one's.
They will at least have to number the amount of parking spaces that they will allow cross parking agreement with. So I think they are willing to provide whatever is necessary to meet the requirement.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward and make their presentation? If you can state your name, address, and be sworn in, please.
Sure. My name is Will Dubois. Is it personal address or of my firm? Sorry.
Firm's fine.
Okay. 4301 Indian Creek Parkway in Overland Park.
Can you repeat your last name?
Could you repeat your last name for us?
Sure. Dubois, D-U-B-O-I-S.
Thank you.
You sound swear the testimony about to give this case is true, subject.
I do. Just a little bit about Neaters. You've heard a bit about the overall plan, but about what it is a fast casual. So there is outdoor seating provided under a trellis. It is fresh bread made every day, that kind of thing. If you think of Panera, it's somewhat similar, but there are differences. They also fresh roast turkey every day. That's a big thing for them. So fresh food and is a big deal. It is fast casual. Like I said, trellis, sit down. In the Home Depot, they are willing to work out any of the parking issues there. The building itself is going to be a neutral toned EIFS stone brick, and also with metal trellises and awnings to kind of match existing buildings in the area and hopefully improve. In addition to the added green space, the green space will go up with the islands, and the additional landscaping as well, we believe will help improve. As to the question about the drive-through, I wasn't involved in the initial laying out of it, but having laid out similar ones, just looking at it, I don't believe it works with the drive-through on the other side, just with the parking, because of the setback restrictions and those requirements. Usually it fronts on that kind of side if there's other shared parking. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions for Mr. Dubois? Doesn't look like there is. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody that would like to speak in favor of the request? Anybody that would like to speak in opposition? All right. I will bring it back up for the commissioners for discussion on the record.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Peel.
I would request that engineering complete the traffic study paperwork to indicate that traffic report not needed. I don't believe the paperwork was marked as such.
Mr. Jury, could you let me address that, please?
I believe
Yeah.
they did sign off on this as a traffic report not needed.
Yes, it wasn't marked on the online version that I had, so.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
yeah, no problem. Must have missed it.
Any other comments, questions on the record? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And I would entertain a motion on the conditional use permit. Commissioner Phillips.
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend approval of the conditional use permit CUP 08165446. I don't believe there were any conditions on it. Yes, with the staff recommendations.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Banks. I have a motion to approve the conditional use permit CUP-08-16-5446 with the 3 staff conditions. Any other discussion? This will be a roll call vote.
Planning Commissioner Wallace.
Aye.
Commissioner Sanders.
Aye.
Commissioner Haney.
Aye.
Commissioner Peel.
Aye.
Commissioner Duhan.
Aye.
Commissioner Billups.
Aye.
Commissioner Banks.
Aye.
Commissioner Cradoff.
Aye.
Chairman Graham.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item would be the site plan design review for Neater's Bakery. I would entertain a motion for that.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Billups.
I would recommend approval of the site plan design review, SPDR 08165449. Again, with the staff recommendations and a comment of welcome to Blue Springs.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second from Commissioner Banks. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries as well. And again, welcome to Blue Springs. Item number 8 is the planned unit development final plat and site plan design review for Quick Trip on Woods Chapel Road. And I believe Mr. Jury is going to make that presentation as well.
Thank you. Oh, that's not it. The Quick Trip application for the PUD final plan, site plan design review. You've heard a couple renditions of this previously with a concept plan and the preliminary plat, I believe. This one is located on the corner of the southwest corner of South Outer and Northwest Woods Chapel, with 36th Street behind it to the west as well. So it has 3 frontages. This is approximately 2.166 acres, and the applicant is asking approval for this PUD final plan and site plan design review as the one of the final steps before they get their building permit. They will be required additionally to vacate an existing sewer on-site, sewer easement on-site, as well as amend the final plat before they can go through the building permit process. It's currently vacant, but they are looking to build on it. So the existing, or the proposed plan, as you can see, includes the 58 square feet, 5,858 square feet of building, as well as 10 pump locations or 10 pump stalls, which is enough for 20 cars to be parked on either side of each of those 10 stalls. And they're proposing to have the 3 access points, one on 36, or one on each of the roads, 36, South Outer, and Woods Chapel as well. They meet all the required building setbacks. The concern staff did have was with the traffic study that was done on May 13th. A right turn lane must be installed at the right in, right out of Drive 2 right along Northwest Woods Chapel Road on Lot 3 here prior to the release of building occupancy, as well as the cross-access easement should be granted to the lot just to the south of them, Lot 2, which is the lot down here. Parking, the Quick Trip is providing 57 parking spaces, which is 25% over the maximum, or 25% over the minimum required, which is the maximum allowed parking. And they did provide all of the parking behind the front building line of the overhead canopy. They did mitigate a lot of the excess parking with a hedge that goes all the way around 3 sides of the development. So staff does believe that they mitigated the extra parking appropriately. They will be required to provide bicycle parking locations on site, though. That can be done with a building plan set. The ADA requirements must be met. Sidewalks should be installed in the public right-of-way. Anything that isn't in the public right-of-way should be in a pedestrian easement. The only change to this plan in terms of sidewalks is right on the southern boundary right here. This sidewalk along the parking should be set back from the parking area so that vehicles don't overhang, or widened to allow enough space for pedestrians to walk through it. And that should be either widened to 8 feet or moved back far enough so that vehicles don't overhang the sidewalk. The applicant is requesting for an alternative compliance landscape plan, and that they do provide more than the required, but they just don't have it in the exact spots that are required. If I can find that. There it is. They are missing some along the eastern buffer along Northwest Woods Chapel, but they do make that up within the parking lot itself, and they aren't required any buffers anywhere else, since those are only local streets. And with that, the only other things are the signage, and as well as the basic stormwater maintenance, development and maintenance agreement, and the plat approval pending for this as well. So with that, staff does recommend approval of this with the following 10 conditions, and if there's any questions, be happy to answer.
Any questions for Mr. Jury?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Peel?
Mr. Journey, I know that there is another Quick Trip store south of that at the corner of Valley View and Woods Chapel. Is there going to be a vacation of that property, or are both properties going to be existing at the same time?
I'll let the applicant answer that one. Do you want to answer now?
Why don't we get questions from Mr. Jury, and then when the applicant comes forward, we can have them address your question. Any other questions for Mr. Jury?
I have one.
Commissioner Sanders.
So why is it light, the landscaping light on Woods Chapel?
I'll also have to let the applicant answer that one as well.
Okay.
Any other questions that Mr. Jury can answer?
Very long.
All right, thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward and make their presentation? If you could state your name and address, please.
Name is Jeff Hargett, Hargett. Address is 5725 Fox Ridge Drive, Mission, Kansas 66201. Mr. Chair and Commissioners, thank you. I can answer the first question. I am negotiating with the landlord of our current store right now. Long-term plan is we will vacate that building. We're relocating to this store. We want to be able to build one of our larger Gen 3 models, the expanded food offer, and more parking. And we needed we needed more room to do that. So yes, long-term we are going to be vacating that. The second question I'll have to defer to Andrew. I don't have the answer to that one. I'm the real estate manager, so I've negotiated a lot of this, the cross-access easement, the shared access easement. I've negotiated. I wanted to come forward if you had any kind of questions, any other questions I can probably answer. But that one development question I'll have to defer.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Peel.
Mr. Hargett?
Yes, sir.
So there's not enough room at that location, the current location, where it's located at the corner of Valley View and Woods Chapel Road. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the landlord would have to agree to your vacation of that property?
We lease the land. Okay. So anytime we close a store, we're very particular about what happens to that property. So that's what I'm negotiating. I'm negotiating to get that property under our control so that we can close it and put our general restrictions on it. And we're just very particular. We don't ever want to leave a store and it becomes a bad neighbor. So we have certain things we do with our closed stores.
Another question, is there a possibility that you wouldn't be able to negotiate that lease, I guess release, if you will, or control, as you say?
There's the possibility. I can't say that it's signed up yet, so there's the possibility, but I'm very dedicated to getting that done.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Hargett?
I have one question. Are there any future plans for any more new generation models coming up anytime soon?
We are working at one Highway 40 and 7. I'm not involved in that project, so I don't know a whole lot about the details of that one, but I know that we're working there too.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
You can just state your name for us, sir, and your address, please.
Andrew Smith, 5725 Fox Ridge Drive, Mission, Kansas. In regards to the 40 and 7 project, we just sent that out to bid, so we're looking to start construction next month, so I'm sure everybody's excited about that one. I've been here probably, how many trips have I made out here, Matt? 10, 12, something like that. Come out here almost weekly for that store, so getting used to that. In regards to the landscaping, part of it is the various setbacks and everything. We've been building convenience stores for 60 years, so in that time we've studied what our lots need in order to make our trucks function as they circle the lot, whether it's a fuel truck or a vendor delivery or just the amount of traffic that we do handle. So with that, we like to make sure we have adequate drive aisles. We are limited on how much space we have here. Essentially, we just have landscaping, drive aisle, store, drive aisle, and then the canopy, and that limits how much of a buffer that we can have out there. We have agreed to do a full hedgerow around the site when we were only required to do it along Woods Chapel, so we figured we'd give something back to make up for anything that we're not doing right out front. That answers the question, or?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I would entertain a motion.
Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Haney.
You don't want to hear her voice on today. I make a motion to approve the Quick Trip PUDS-08-16-5445 with 10 conditions.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Phillips. Motion is to approve the planned unit development final plat site plan design review for Quick Trip. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is items 9 and 10 that we will hear together but vote on separately is for Adams Point Village PRO second plat, which is we'll be hearing the final plat, residential overlay of the final plat, and then the final plat. And Mr. Jury is going to make that presentation as well. It's the Mr. Jury show tonight.
Before you have the Adams Point Village PRO final plan, as well as the final plat for the second phase of Adams Point Village. The PRO final plan is really just the overall concept plan finalized for this to really lock in all of the improvements and amenities of this subdivision. With that, the Adams Point Village PRO is located along R.D. Mize, approximately south of East R.D. Mize Road and east of Adams Point Golf Course, just to the over here in the agricultural area zoning. So with that, the first phase has gone through, and this is really just a cleanup of the PRO final plan that will lock in everything around that for the remainder of the development. The PRO final plan will include about 38 acres, and the final plat is only the southwest corner, which encapsulates about 6.5 acres. But as for the PRO final plan, I'll go into detail of what all that includes. So on this, the applicant is proposing to have the housing classification that is different than what was originally approved with the concept plan. They are asking for this deviation, but they are only changing, or let's see. They are asking for several of these housing along the golf course to be A classification instead of the AA classification, which is a lower requirement in housing square footage size, mainly because of market concerns. And they're stepping that down from A to B across the development. The housing design will remain similar across the development from the existing to the new. Access will be provided in the two locations, one as exists and then one in the north eastern corner, Pavilion Drive, which does not exist yet but will be required. A temporary cul-de-sac will be required along Amanda Lane when that phase occurs. Right turn and left turn lane, or right and left turn lanes will be required along future Pavilion Drive, along East R.D. Mize. In terms of streetscape, they meet the street trees required, as well as, or the street tree, or the street lighting will be required to be approved by Public Works Department. The applicant is also asking for a deviation from the concept plan in terms of the open space and sidewalks and paths provided. The previous plan had a trail system that went all the way around the western property boundary and curved around the south and looped through the backside and up towards R.D. Mize as well. But they're asking to remove that trail due to topographical concerns and existing vegetation, so they don't have to create a giant retaining wall, in other words, and take out a bunch of trees to deal with those concerns. So they're proposing to utilize the existing, or the proposed sidewalk along here and cut it down across the one of those roads on the southwestern side of the proposed development and bring it back down to where it'll connect back up to the proposed trail system that was existing. So it's only removing a portion of only the western and a portion of the southern trail as proposed on the concept plan. That is one of their deviations that they are requesting from the concept plan. In terms of landscaping, they do meet all the required landscaping in all the open space tracks as well as the street trees. They are proposing some amenities in lieu of that trail system that they're reducing or taking away. They're providing some exercise equipment, which I'll scroll down to. And some of these will be located along the southeastern corner of the proposed development. And those will be scattered along the trail system in the southeast corner surrounding the proposed drainage detention basin there. And those locations are noted in as some of these point locations along the trail system. So there's 5 locations for those exercise equipments. Other than that, anything abutting the golf course does have to have a wrought iron fence is required along the golf course side. They have access to all public utilities. The stormwater detention and quality will need to be reevaluated according to as Public Works requested as each phase develops. And the CCNRs should be recorded with Jackson County as well after final plat approval. With that, staff does recommend approval of the PRO final plan with 7 conditions. And I'll move on to the final plat now. The final plat only encapsulates the 6.5 acre location in the far south east corner or southwest corner of the site. And with that, they do have all of the roads and utilities constructed, and there's the temporary cul-de-sac has been constructed or it will be constructed shortly. And they must install that prior to final plat approval by City Council or financially guarantee it, one or the other. And with that, staff does recommend approval of the final plat application with the 4 conditions, including that financial guarantee.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Jury?
I have a question.
Commissioner Banks.
Mr. Jury, they're wanting to change the square footage. I know it was A, 3,000, and then you said to B. I don't see it in the notes what it was changing from. It says housing classification.
I'll pull this up.
I know.
So 25 through 32 and 38 through 40 will have 2,600.
Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. I must have missed that page.
And lots 33 through 37 will be classified as classification V.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you.
I can scroll over to, if you can remember those numbers, I'll scroll up to the final plat.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward and make their presentation? If you could state your name and address for us, please.
All right. My name is Randy Salee. Address is 3730 Northeast Troon Drive, Lee Summit, Missouri. Randall W. Salee. I'm with Salee Homes Incorporated. And basically, this is an extension of the first phase of Adams Point Village. I'm sure the main question is probably the square footage differences between the initial platting of the subdivision or preliminary plat versus today. The reason for the change of the square footage, I believe, for one, is the Uniform Development Code, I think, changed over that 10-year period. And we are proposing to keep a Class A of all the homes that are buffering the golf course and the south border of the property, and then go to a Class B with the remaining lots that are interior of the golf course. Style of homes will be similar to what is in the development now, and we've found that not everybody wants a 3,000 square foot ranch style home, even though it does butt up against the golf course. 2,600 square feet or even 2,600 square foot reverse 1.5 story is more of what the market is looking for. Other than a large home, they want less square footage and more amenities now than they did maybe 10 or 15 years ago. So if I can answer any questions, I'd be happy to.
Any questions for Mr. Salee?
I have one. Did
Mr.
you base
Petto.
that decision on certain types of groups, age groups, or?
Not necessarily, although it does seem as if the older buyers, being now my age and above, do not care as much about square footage as they do about energy efficiency and the amenities that are in the house. Even young buyers, it seems like, are not as concerned about having a large home as much as they are, again, affordable utility bills and something that their family can be comfortable in. So really it's market driven. We've tried to build homes that are everywhere from 33,000 to 3,400 square feet in the subdivision, and there's not nearly as much demand for that as there are for 2,500 to 3,000 square foot homes.
Thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions for Mr. Salee?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Peel.
Mr. Salee, as this property develops, is there any plans to put in a trail system at all? I know typically the age group that may be buying in this location are probably considered to be social, if you will. So the trails seem to be a amenity that would be nice. Yeah. Is there any desire to put that in at some point?
Yes, there is. One of the questions that Nathan asked me in the office the other day is a timeline on connecting from R.D. Mize Road into the neighborhood, which has not been done yet. We have a letter of credit stating that we will, but and my job is to find out when our asphalt man can put that trail in. So I don't have an answer from him yet, but we will find that out, and I'll be letting staff know. And then also the main reason for not putting it behind lots 7, I think it's 7, 8, and 9, is again because of large trees that are there that we'd have to remove, butting up against the golf course. Actually, all the way down along the golf course, there are large trees that would have to be removed, and even though it was drawn on paper originally, when we did the preliminary plat, it's not a good location for it. It would be better to bring the trail into the subdivision and connect to the southern property.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. I would entertain a motion if someone is inclined to make one.
Mr. Chairman.
On item 9.
On item 9.
Yes, Commissioner Billups.
I would move for approval of the PRO final plat, PROF 08165454, with the staff recommendations.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Haney to approve the planned residential overlay final plan with the 7 staff conditions. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. I would entertain a motion on the final plat.
Just waiting for you to be ready. Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Billups.
Would move for approval of the final plat, PF 08165455, again with staff conditions.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We'll take Commissioner Duhan's second. I haven't heard from that end of the room. I have a motion and a second to approve the final plat with the 7 staff conditions, 4 staff conditions. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. That recommendation will be sent to the City Council meeting on September 19th. That brings us to other business. Commissioner Billups. Anything from you?
No, I don't have anything to say. The taste was last Saturday night. It was a huge success. I think everybody had a good time.
Super.
Hope everybody comes downtown next weekend for the fest.
I will be there. Any other business? Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, page 98 of your PDF, scanned version of tonight's agenda. Commissioner Peel was correct. There is the conditional use permit for Neaters was missing a check mark for the traffic report sign off. So we'll make sure that's corrected. I apologize for that oversight, but the one that Mr. Jury showed you was from the site plan design review. So that one, again, it really covers both, but we'll make sure that all the paperwork is corrected. So thank you for catching that. If you'd like, Mr. Chairman, I can go through the agenda for next time.
You might scare people away from next time. But why don't you?
All right, I will do that. I think technically it's called a Whopper next time. So actually, we'll have quite a bit. It also falls under the category of good busy. So we'll keep you busy, but it'll be again for a number of good reasons. We'll have 2 final plats for Parkway Estates, PRO. Those will be as they stand currently. Unless any conditions change at the last minute, they'll be under consent agenda.
Okay.
We'll have the continuation as noted tonight of the Eagles Ridge Estates items. Those will be 2 public hearings, the amended rezoning, amended PRO concept plan, and then the preliminary plat. Also have a public hearing for conditional use permit for a commercial daycare on Jefferson Street. It's a multi-suite building near the school district building in that area, Northwest Jefferson. We're also looking at, again, this is all current and tentative, rezoning for a project called the Woodlands at Chapman Farms. This is Mr. Bob Frost and his wife, their property, about 150 acres near Wyatt Road, on the east side of 7. Colonial Gardens, also off Wyatt Road. This is the former Colonial Nursery project looking to be rezoned in part, as well as move forward with a planned development concept plan. Also with that commercial daycare as noted, I should have noted as well, there's a site plan design review of that. The Woodlands also has a preliminary plat, and Colonial Gardens has a preliminary plat. So Those are 3 different projects, but a couple different items. And finally, site plan design review for Dollar General, which is at the southeast corner of eastbound 40 and 19th Street, next to Meineke. There's a vacant lot there. So again, a lot of things moving forward. Some vacant buildings looking to get reused, vacant properties looking to be built on, and additional development in this southern part of the city.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Full agenda. So come prepared. We'll have. I'm sure Karen will make sure we'll have the larger waters for next time. So
yeah, the little one might not make it.
Make sure we have full-size waters for next time.
Any other business? All right, seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.